Hey guys, Ladder here, bringing you a fun Star Wars top 5 video. I know I've really been on a Star Wars versus kick for quite a while. I think it's pretty likely that many of you don't actually know that I do lore videos and top 5 lists and other things besides the actual matchups. Nonetheless, I really hope you guys will give this video a chance anyways. Check it out and let me know what you thought down in the comments. So today we're counting down the 5 most advanced races in Star Wars Legends. When I say advanced, I'm not referring to a biological power or a strength, but rather a species' technological or scientific achievements. There are a few rules associated with this list. First of all, I'm going to exclude any purely machine races like the Silentium. I'm also going to exclude any purely interdimensional beings like Waru, just because it's really hard to actually determine how advanced they are. I'm also going to exclude one-off powerful beings because the focus here is on civilizations rather than powerful or advanced individuals. Finally, I'm not going to be counting groups like the Republic or the Empire. I want to focus on homogeneous alien civilizations. Before we really get into things, I just want to give a notable shout out to some entries that just barely missed making the list. First is the Qua, one of a few ancient civilizations who I'm going to be talking about in this video. The Qua invented their own version of hyperspace gates, allowing them to traverse the universe almost instantaneously. Were it not for other advanced races which actually resided in the galaxy at the same time, the Qua would have most likely made this list. There's also the Yaka, who enhance their newborn children with cybernetic implants, and these implants allow each member of their species to operate at a genius level. Unfortunately, as a civilization, they don't really have any technological feats to point to, so they're left off this list. There's also the Cathal, one of my favorite weird species in the Star Wars universe. The Cathal stored themselves within a large crystal known as the Life Well, and were guarded by the Dark Strider. The Dark Strider was one of the many biological creations of the Cathal, and I love him because his design is really unlike any that we see in the Star Wars universe. Finally, we have the Sharu, a race of militant dinosaur creatures who I've mentioned in a few previous videos. The Sharu don't make this list because while they do seem to be quite advanced, they only have one really remarkable bit of technology, and that's the entekment tech that they use. Entekment is pretty cool though, and it allows them to convert the life force of a living being into pure energy for their use. And again, while that is impressive, I would want to see more scientific achievement for them to actually make the list. So let's start at number 5, and this one was hard for me. You guys know that I love the old Lando Calrissian trilogy just because it's so campy and it's totally fun. During that trilogy, Lando actually encounters several advanced civilizations. Throughout the trilogy, he's with his friend Vuffi Ra, who is actually a young Silentium, which are a very advanced civilization, although totally droids, so not eligible for this list. And he also meets the Sharu and the Oswaft. Ultimately, in my mind, the Sharu are the more impressive of these two species, so they will take the number 5 spot on this list, but I do think the Oswaft are interesting as well. The Oswaft are essentially a race of very intelligent flying manta rays. I think the most notable thing about them is that they're able to travel through hyperspace organically. However, besides for that, it's not really clear to me that they have any real impressive scientific achievements. The Sharu, on the other hand, were quite impressive. Like many ancient species within the Star Wars universe, they created these massive pyramids. Much more notably than that though, they created the Mind Harp of Sharu. Long before the main events of the Star Wars saga, the Sharu encountered a race of extraterrestrial attackers. We don't know exactly who they are, but they were dangerous. To hide themselves, they essentially went underground and devolved their race, turning themselves from the advanced Sharu into the primitive, not advanced Taka. Upon the activation of the Mind Harp, the civilization returned to its former glory, and the Sharu removed all human settlements from the planet. The fact that the Sharu have the ability to transform their species into a lesser one and then reactivate themselves when the time is right is really impressive to me, and is why the Sharu are number 5 on the list. Coming in at number 4 is likely going to be a controversial one. It's the Yuuzhan Vong. The Yuuzhan Vong were technologically advanced in a quite different way than every other member of this list. Instead of improving or furthering classic mechanical-based technology, they instead innovated, becoming masters of biological weapons and biological tech generally. The Yuuzhan Vong bred countless biological entities solely for the use of furthering their civilization, and they created everything from organic ships to brains which would coordinate their war efforts. to unique and deadly weapons. And what's probably most interesting about their creations is that they're each made perfectly, while still maintaining biological individuality. The Yuuzhan Vong were so advanced that they managed to wipe out or expel every race within their own galaxy. That even includes the Silentium, which I mentioned just a couple minutes ago. They also came very, very close to defeating a united Star Wars galaxy. Number 3 is the Gree, an advanced civilization, and you should get used to this because actually the rest of the civilizations on this list are from a very, very long time ago. The Gree utilized technology, the likes of which is not otherwise seen in the Star Wars galaxy, including even in the modern era. The Gree visited other dimensions, could actually interfere with stars and planets, and unlike most species and civilizations in the Star Wars universe, actually developed their own artificial intelligence. Like the Qua that I mentioned earlier, the Gree also used hypergate technology such that they could travel throughout the galaxy in just an instant. Rather than going through hyperspace, you step through this gate and you're at the other end immediately. Notably, the Gree also invented their own hyperspace technology. They didn't just get it from another civilization, they actually developed it themselves. And this may have been one of the first faster than light travel technologies invented in the Star Wars universe. This hyperspace technology from long ago was actually more advanced than most modern systems, and it allowed the Gree to travel through even difficult parts of the galaxy, not having to worry as much about potential hazards. The Gree would eventually become enslaved by the Celestials, and they weren't very prevalent in the modern galaxy. However, their technology was still very advanced, and people would often plunder former Gree planets trying to find advanced tech to use for themselves. Number 2 is one of the contemporaries of the Gree, the Rakata, and the Rakata formed the Infinite Empire, one of the first actually galaxy-spanning civilizations in history. The Rakata were initially introduced to the Force by the Qua, who I've continually mentioned throughout this video. However, unlike the Qua, the Infinite Empire was not at all good, friendly, or civilized, and they immediately began expanding throughout the galaxy, fueling their technology with the Force. Although they never mastered the use of hyperspace gates, the Rakata had very interesting and very advanced technology. Probably the most notable creation of the Rakata was the Starforge. The Starforge was essentially a giant factory that would use power from a star or some other energy source to create an almost endless stream of starships. However, it wasn't just ships that the Starforge could create. We know for a fact that it could make battle droids, and I really don't see how its production could in any way be limited. We don't know a whole lot about the Rakata and the technology they use. Most of what we know comes from the game Knights of the Old Republic and its associated media, but in my mind it is very remarkable that they actually used the Force to power their machines. And I really think that that's unlike any other species in the Star Wars universe. Interestingly enough, this connection to the Force, however, actually led to the downfall of the Rakatan Empire. After a virus caused the Rakatans to lose their connection to the Force, they stopped being able to work their technology. That led to the quick decline of their civilization. Anyone who's a fan of the more esoteric or weird parts of Star Wars legends, or is really into the deep history of the Star Wars universe, probably knows what number 1 is. The Celestials were a race of extremely powerful, perhaps even unimaginably powerful beings who existed very early on in the Star Wars universe. The Celestials created countless of grand works which existed into the modern Star Wars age. And this is everything from ancient machinery to Sinkhole Station to possibly even the hyperspace anomaly that borders the edge of the galaxy. More than that, it's actually believed that the Celestials formed and manipulated individual star systems. It's pretty clear that they impacted the galaxy on a grand scale. The true nature of the Celestials has never been fully revealed. We know that, for example, the Ones are actually Celestials, but we don't know whether they're gods, just really an extremely advanced race, or maybe something in between. We do, however, know that with creations like Centerpoint Station, this race was clearly the most powerful in Star Wars legends. And that's that. That's the top 5 most advanced, most scientifically brilliant species and civilizations within the Star Wars universe, at least, according to me. I consider myself a pretty big Star Wars fan, and I've read pretty much everything in Star Wars legends, but you know what? I don't know everything, so if I forgot a race or a civilization that should have been on this list, please let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know whether you liked this video, whether you want me to go back more heavily to top 5 lists and lore videos, or if you'd prefer just me to focus on versus battles. I really hope you guys did enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to seeing your suggestions for future videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, may the Force be with you. you.